Evening, everybody. This is Carving Up Live right here on Facebook, Carving Up YouTube channel, Grid Network YouTube channel. It's I can say nothing other than the fact that it's a sad day to be in studio today. Something happened Wednesday night, and that is why we are dressed for the occasion in all black shades, black hoodie. Actually, no, wearing black pants. I probably should have done that too, but it's a sad day because on Wednesday night, in front of the whole country to see, the New York Yankees 2024 season, it came to an end. And it did so in pretty devastating fashion. And you know, if there's one thing that I can say about the New York Yankees this season, 2024, it's that they went as they played, right? We left them how we found them, certainly over the course of the last 4 months or so, when they played incredibly average baseball. And they went out looking like a pretty average baseball team, and in some stretches a terrible baseball team. So in order to pay tribute, I figure we might as well close this tribute to the Yankees, and we'll talk about the game, of course, and the World Series as a whole. I figure we might as well do it in a fashion I feel like would befit this team, in a fashion I think Yankees fans would appreciate, and in a fashion that would just accurately pay tribute to a team that we grew to know, and I'm not sure in some cases love, but at least know. And so it goes something along the lines of this. Oh, you didn't think I was just going to mess around and do nothing, did you? Come on now. I mean, listen, you know, courtesy of Big Papi, of course, New York, New York, sung by the great David Ortiz in his own special way. It's a good day to be a Red Sox fan. Even if Mookie Betts won another World Series ring. There's just a ring to that, you know what I'm saying? It's a ring to it. So listen, shades off. We gonna be talking about the New York Yankees. We're also gonna talk about the Dodgers, of course, the 2024 World Series champions. Getting to that in just a few. We're really about a minute on the show. Also, Jets. Hey, you finally won a football game. Getting to that, why it means utterly nothing later in the show. With all of you breaking down Tennessee's big-time matchup against Kentucky and why this game will set the tone for the last few games of Tennessee's 2024 regular season campaign going into postseason ball, whatever that may look like. Could be conference championship, could be playoff, could be bowl game, who knows? Get into that in about 30 minutes from now at the end of today's show. It is a Friday, so of course we are doing NFL predictions. Off to an 0-1 start against the spread and straight up. Obviously picking the Texans to cover and win. Or Texans the points and to win this game outright. But I've got my upset of the week, I've got a few upsets, but one in particular is going to shock you guys. I've got Bryson's Bleak Bet, and of course, my favorite segment every week. It is called If I Were a Bettin Man. So we're going to get into all those things, all of the above. But let's talk some baseball to start the show because, again, of course, as the great David Ortiz would say in regular fashion, without the theme of New York, New York, of course.
The Yankees lose.
Again. So let's get started. But first, the Yankees did lose in Game 5 to lose the World Series in 2024 by a final score of 7-6. The Dodgers are your 2024 World Series champions. It is their 8th title in franchise history. Their 2nd in the last 5 years after going 30-plus without winning a championship dating back to the 1988 season. So when it comes to these LA Dodgers, the thing that I kept thinking about over and over and over is that this is a little bit terrifying for Major League Baseball. Not as a brand. It's actually, I think, great for Major League's brand. I'll get into that. But for other teams, the 29 other teams, the Yankees being included, we'll touch them, of course. And for fans of every other team not named the Dodgers, this is a little bit terrifying. The Dodgers went through, I'm not going to sit here and say like the hardest road to a championship ever. I'm not going to say that because that's not the case. Pretty tough path to win the World Series. So they go through a Padres team, okay, that I picked the Padres to beat. And I thought the Padres had a better matchup, better rotation. San Diego had beaten LA in the playoffs 2 years ago, so there's that sort of cloud going around the Dodgers' head, going over the Dodgers' head. There's there's a sort of pressure on LA that's just not on the Padres in that spot. And San Diego's playing good baseball, and they led the Dodgers in a best-of-5, 2-1. I'm thinking, the Dodgers are going to get knocked out again in the division series. Then LA's pitching wakes up. Their bats wake up in key situations. They're able to come back, beat the Padres. Then they face the Mets, who are the hottest team in Major League Baseball, literally record-wise, the best team in baseball dating back to like May. Okay? Playing the Mets, and they win 2 of the 3 games in Citi Field in Queens, New York, win that series in 6 games because of an explosion offensively. Then they play the Yankees, who are riding high off of wins over the Royals and Guardians, but Yankees got clearly the best pitcher in the series, Garrett Cole, who was outstanding. It's just his offense couldn't capitalize for him, or in his case of Game 5, the defense. All of this, the year they kind of weren't supposed to. Like the Dodgers, I'm not going to sit up here and act like, the Dodgers are supposed to miss the playoffs. Shohei's beat up and got more beat up as the playoffs progressed. He obviously suffered the shoulder injury, did not throw a single pitch in the 2024 campaign. You consider the fact that Freddie Freeman, who had been dealing with some postseason struggles the past year or two, suffers an injury late season going into the playoffs. So now you got, that's your second or third best bat that's hurt, that's beat up. A rotation that is decimated by injury. Tyler Glasnow, Clayton Kershaw, Walker Buehler had dealt with injuries previously. He wasn't his normal self over the course of the season, working his way back. They weren't supposed to win this year. And they did. We questioned their manager, Dave Roberts. I think we could say that monkey's kind of off his back. Can we admit, by the way, I love Dave Roberts, Red Sox legend, but those were legitimate concerns. I think those are kind of gone now. The regular season success, all these different things. Well, now, again, the 2020 title, people saying that it doesn't count. I vehemently disagree with that because every other team in baseball was in the exact same circumstances as the Dodgers, just like the Lakers in the bubble. Can't believe I'm defending the Lakers today. And the Dodgers came away with the title. It's a perfectly legitimate title, counts just like the other 7 of them. But they wanted this one. They wanted 162 games to hoist the trophy at the end. Before LA, let's see. Shohei's going to pitch next year. Mookie Betts. Talk about Mookie, which, matter of fact, let's go and pull up the graphic. All stats provided by StatMuse. All graphics provided by my guy, a big-time baseball fan, Alfred Parsar Jr. Can we see what my Red Sox and what the Dodgers have done since the Mookie Betts trade? Because it's not very close. The Red Sox are basically, literally, over the course of 700 baseball games, 2 games under 500. So they are the definition of mediocre. 1 playoff appearance, 1 ALCS appearance. Obviously, no World Series and no World Championships. The Dodgers in that span win 64% of their games, 5 playoff appearances, 3 trips to the NLCS, 2 World Series appearances, and of course, 2 World Series championships since the Red Sox traded one of the 10 best players in Major League Baseball for nothing. For freaking Alex Verdugo and Jeter Downs. Yeah, how'd those work out? Freaking Red Sox front office. But this isn't about them today. They got Mookie in his prime. They got Freddie Freeman, who I think it's fair to say is now officially, no doubt about it, if the Baseball Hall of Fame jacks this up, I don't know what I'll do, a first bout Hall of Famer. 2-time World Series champion. He won the World Series MVP, deservedly so. 9 RBIs, 4 home runs, including the first Grand Slam in World Series history. A walk-off Grand Slam, I should say, in World Series history. He won the MVP 4 years ago, 8-time All-Star, won the Gold Glove, in 2018, as a 3-time Silver Slugger. And by the way, they might get one soda. That's not a guarantee. We'll see. Yamamoto, by the way, a year in, he was amazing in the World Series in his Game 2 start, but Yamamoto's going to be ready to go next season. He's lived in the States for a year, more comfortable. He's buddies with Shohei. This team's going to have cohesion. This team is, we know the Dodgers, it's Los Angeles for crying out loud. They have plenty of money to spend. They may go out and get another starter. This is and for baseball, it would be, I'm always going to pull for my Red Sox. We're always going to pull for our baseball teams. It would be kind of fantastic for Major League Baseball if the Dodgers win like 3 of the next 4 years. It really would be. Because baseball, more than anything, because this was, we talked about coming into this World Series, that these clash of titans, New York, LA, Yankees, Dodgers, probably the most 2 commonly seen baseball caps in America is the NYY, with the Yankees, and then the LA with the Dodgers. What was it going to be? How is it going to help the sport? Well, it's the highest rated World Series since 2017. That helps. That's a start. But more than anything, what baseball needs, can we get a dynasty out of these two teams? Even if the Yankees had won, and we'll get to them, they weren't going to be a dynasty. Frankly, they're not built for it. Getting to touch them in a few minutes, the Dodgers are. Okay, Freddie Freeman's in his mid-30s. Mookie Betts is around 30 years of age. Same with Shohei Ohtani. They're going to be around a while. And by the way, it's not like there's going to be a more attractive destination than Dodger Stadium in Southern California and all the money that they can provide, and you win a lot. Like, they're not going anywhere. The last time baseball was, I think, truly, you could say 2016 Cubs and Cleveland, but there was an overarching storyline with the Cubs, 108 years. I think the last time that you could say baseball was at least somewhat close to football, even though football's been king for my entire life, is around late 20th century bleeding into the first few years of the 21st. Because you had exquisite pitching. You had the home run hitters. Baseball was played. Again, there's more of a reliance on analytics nowadays. As I always say, you have to use analytics. You're doing yourself disservice. They cannot drive every decision you make. I've always said that. I feel like that was at the point where baseball was at its peak recently. Part of that's because the Yankees were dominant. 98, 99, 2000s. Last time we've seen back-to-back, much less back-to-back-to-back World Series titles. Can the Dodgers do that? Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say probably. Now, they play the National League is miles tougher than the American League. It's kind of like the Western Conference, Eastern Conference in the NBA, or these days, I feel like NFC versus AFC, the disparity there. But listen, this is a team that's built for the future. This is a team, by the way, that's got a lot of likable guys. Freddie Freeman, you won't meet a soul that dislikes Freddie Freeman, certainly as a human being. He's, it goes about his business the right way, is a family man, all the stuff he dealt with, all his son dealt with the autoimmune disease. Like, shout out to that family. Congrats to Freddie Freeman, a well-deserved World Series MVP. As much as it hurts me to say, I still love Mookie Betts, although I wish that man still played with us. Thanks, Red Sox front office. But pulling for Mookie and Shohei Ohtani, I find to be, maybe not as likable as Freddie, but a likable guy, goes about his business the right way. Again, prior to the injuries, was raking in the playoffs, particularly with runners in scoring position. Walker Buehler as well. Dave Roberts, Red Sox legend, very likable guy, able to finally get that whole postseason choker monkey off his back. So, this is a likable group of guys. And again, there's the Juan Soto story that we're going to be monitoring throughout the course of the offseason. But this team's going to be around. NL West divisions, go and lock that up for the next 4 to 5 years, as has been the case for most of the last decade plus. It would be very good for baseball if they reel off 2 of the next 3 of the next 4 championships. It really would be. Baseball, pro sports, is at its best when you have a villain, a dominant team that everybody's gunning after. Because then again, you have, if you have a situation like the Cubs, there's a big storyline. Can they get over the top? Well, now, for different reasons, that's the story. If there any American League team against the Dodgers or any National League team in the Division Series and Championship Series against LA, baseball's been looking for a dynasty/villain for decades. They may now have it. Now, the Dodgers don't necessarily conduct themselves as villains, so it might kind of hurt them, kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you really dislike Mahomes or Reed or Kelsey? There's not really, the Patriots, different story. Kudos to Dodgers, well-deserved championship. They're the best team in baseball start to finish. There's no question about it. Before we move to the Yankees, and Jeff kind of segues me into that, he says, Bryson, can you explain/compare Aaron Judge's massive choke job in the World Series to the NFL and NBA? Since I don't know baseball, I don't know how bad he truly was. LOL. Well, we will touch on Aaron Judge. We might as well do it as well as his teammates, as well as the Yankees as a whole right now. So, in a way, now I had Dodgers in 6. I was a game off, but I did have the Dodgers winning the series. And a lot of it was because, and I think those that picked the Yankees, respect to them, but this has kind of been coming for a while. If you look at the numbers, notice the big sort of that pops out in a bag graphic. Here's what the Yankees have been since June 13th. 2 games under 500, the 18th best record in baseball, 19th in average, 18th in ERA, 19th in stolen bases, 20th in hits, but 5th in home runs. What does that tell you? It tells you they're a one-trick pony. It tells you that they have one way to beat you, and when it's not working, they're cooked. And I have criticized Brian Cashman. I have criticized this franchise. It feels like my entire show's existence is that, and again, it goes to what I've said. Like the Dodgers are a prime example. They use analytics. You better believe the Dodgers use analytics. It doesn't drive Dave Roberts every single solitary decision. It appears to be the case with Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, and it's not working. And it's the reason they haven't won for 15 years. Is that if you have a primarily power hitting lineup with Judge, with Stanton, Gleyber Torres, Jazz Chisholm, you want guys hit for power. Don't get me wrong. But it's also nice to have a Mookie Betts who can just get a base hit and get on. By the way, Shohei Ohtani's become that. Shohei Ohtani, second in baseball in stolen bases. There's a flexibility. There's a sort of, there's a way about the Dodgers where they're comfortable being uncomfortable. They can beat you multiple different ways. The Yankees got to have the long ball going or they're kind of toast. We saw throughout the course of this World Series is that, we saw game one, game one, 3 runs. Game two, they scored 2 runs in game 2. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. Yeah. In game 3, 2 runs off of Verdugo, late home run. They got it going with 11 in game 4 because the long ball was working. By the way, the long ball was working game 5 until that defense showed up. You say, Bryce, they did not show up at all. Matter of fact, they were kind of the opposite. No, they showed up and did what they've been doing over the course of the season. 5th inning, top of the 5th inning comes from the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Yankees lead 5-0. If not for a near, I think it was Judge, who almost hit a homer into left field. That thing could have been a wrap right there at like 8-0. We would have been heading to a game 6. Top of the 5th inning, Kike Hernandez gets on base. Okay, no harm, no foul. That's not going to kill you. Garrett Cole's been throwing a gem. Then here comes Edman, who is the MVP of the NLCS. He comes up, hits a routine pop fly to Aaron Judge. And there's no other way you could say it except the fact he just straight up dropped it. No other way you could say it. Kike Hernandez beats him out to second. Then there's a routine ground ball hit to Anthony Volpe, the shortstop for the Yankees, who then had just, some of it was Kike Hernandez, the way he slid, which is a good veteran move on his part, but just a god-awful throw to Jazz Chisholm at third. That gets dropped. All of a sudden, you got bases loaded, nobody out, and you're in trouble. But then, despite, unacceptable defense, Garrett Cole does Garrett Cole things. He says, hey, guys, I got you. I'm going to get the next 2 batters out. As a matter of fact, you got Will Smith grounds to the fielders. Sorry, not Will Smith. Gavin Lux strikes out. Shohei Ohtani strikes out, bases loaded. So now you got bases loaded with nobody out. Now you got 2 gone. And you're thinking, oh, this could be like the turning point in the series. Like, here's the opening point for the Dodgers. And Garrett Cole says, no, sir. You're not taking advantage of this. And then Mookie Betts. Some of this was Mookie hustling, and that's what Mookie's done his whole career going back to Boston. Mookie hits a routine ground ball, Anthony Rizzo at first. And we can blame Cole for not covering. That's fine. Rizzo froze. There's no way, like, I'm watching him. He just, flat-footed. Doesn't even, again, it's Mookie's probably going to beat an old Anthony Rizzo out. Anthony Rizzo's still going to at least try and make a play at first, get the Yankees out of the inning. All of a sudden, Mookie reaches safe, run scores. Freddie Freeman tacks on 2 more. Teoscar Hernandez taps on 2 more after that. Tie game, and the Dodgers ride that momentum to the finish. And A-Rod said it. Alex Rodriguez, who I was never crazy about as a Red Sox fan, to put it mildly, but I think A-Rod's a fantastic analyst. And he said after the game, it's one of the worst defensive innings he's ever seen in a playoff game. And I completely, obviously agree with him, but I'll go a step further, and it's a word in sports that is the most overused word by far in our sports discourse, by far, but it applies here. That was a choke job by the Yankees. Not the series, but the 2 Cole starts. Because I said coming in this series, and I picked the Dodgers, if the Yankees want to win this thing with poor defense, with a one-dimensional offense, they're going to have to win the Garrett Cole starts. They have to win game 1. They have to win game 5. Well, game 1, Garrett Cole was awesome. They took him out early. Game 1 was on Aaron Boone almost exclusively. Overused his bullpen to the point where you get to Nestor Cortez, who hasn't pitched a month, throwing to Freddie Freeman, who smacks a walk-off homer into right field, again, against a cold reliever who hasn't gone in a month off injury. That was on Aaron Boone. And then game 5, it was completely and solely on the defense. Garrett Cole had 5. I don't know if I've ever heard of this in some time. 5 unearned runs given up by Garrett Cole. And so this was not the series as a whole. The Dodgers were supposed to win because they're the better team. But if we're just looking individually at 1 and 5, the Cole starts where he was great in both. It's on the manager in the first game. It's on the defense the second game. And so I think for New York, and by the way, we can show you, because the story is and should be another postseason for Aaron Judge where he looks like a shell of his power hitting self that goes on to do spectacular things. And he's going to be the American League MVP once again in 2024, deservedly so. But Aaron Judge in the postseason is a below average player. The home runs is impressive, but he's got to in the playoffs, which by the way, he's been in since 2017. 205 average, 45 hits, 16 homers, 34 RBIs. He's struck out 86 times, and he's a 500 player. Now, again, baseball's a team sport. That doesn't apply to Aaron Judge the way it would like an Aaron Rodgers, who we'll talk about later, or a quarterback, for example. But he's the face of the franchise. He's a 288 batter in the regular season. That plummets to 205 in the playoffs. I mean, by the way, Game 5, where Judge blew it defensively, that was the first time that it was like, oh, there's Aaron Judge in the World Series. It's about time. That was Aaron Judge's first multi-hit playoff game since 2019. And yet and still, because he based on the fact that he was pissed off when he got hit by a pitch early in the series, it's like, okay, he still has confidence that he can get out of the slump. This is why I say choke job. The moment looked a little bit too big for some of those Yankees. It didn't look too big for Stanton. It didn't look too big for Garrett Cole. It didn't look too big for Juan Soto, who, by the way, Juan Soto's got a championship. I think Cole won a championship with the Astros, if I'm not mistaken. I think. The rest of those guys, Judge, he's never seen that stage before. Or Jazz Chisholm, or who was fine. Or Anthony Volpe. Like, these guys are not used to this. Gleyber Torres, they're not used to this big stage. And so whereas the Dodgers, Freeman's won a title. Betts has won 2. Ohtani has pitched the World Baseball Classic, was fantastic in it. Struck out Mike Trout, his former teammate, to end it. And so I think right now for New York, it's a situation where you're probably going to lose Juan Soto. Because it's not going to be a matter of the Yankees, and this is what's always driven me crazy about the narrative that their fans try to paint that I don't think anybody buys, is that just the legacy of the New York Yankees, just the pinstripes, just the 27 titles, just that in and of itself, coupled with money, of course, will put us over the top to get certain free agents. Not really. That's kind of the Dodgers thing now. The Padres got money. Okay, the Red Sox got money. They just won't spend it. That's what drives me crazy. Plenty of teams out there got plenty of cash to spend. Just like the Mets got a ton of cash to spend. If you ask me which team in New York is going in a better direction, I'd say it's probably we say same old Mets. I don't know. The Mets were like way better than the Yankees the second half of this year. Mets from June 13th on, best team in baseball. Yankees 18th. In the weaker of the two leagues. So I think for New York, this was kind of their Aaron Judge, 32 years old. Now he's in his prime. I'm not saying he's like going to retire in 2 years, but it felt like this was the year to get that title, and they kind of blew it. Now, of course, as a Red Sox fan, I'm overjoyed. The fact that a third of baseball has won a World Series title more recently than those big bad Yankees. Poppy, say it to me once again, because I forgot what you said earlier in the show.
Yankees lose.
All right, I forgot that. Thank you so much, David Ortiz. Okay, Jeff asks, where does Aaron Judge's choke job rank for you in all-time sports, or in all sports in your lifetime? Up there with Rodgers losing to my Niners in the playoffs every year as a home favorite in Green Bay. In my lifetime, James Harden's got a lot of, but Aaron Rodgers had plenty. So is James Harden. The Clippers in the 2020 bubble was one of I think the worst choke job I've ever seen in the NBA playoffs in my life. You blow a 3-1 lead in which you had double-digit leads in all 3 games. Like, that to me is an all-time collapse, especially with the context of where the Clippers were supposed to be that season. So that's up there. I love LeBron James, but he was bad in the 2011 finals. I love Steph, but he was bad in the 2016 finals. So somewhere sandwiched in between Steph's 2016 NBA Finals and it's close to some of those Harden performances, man. Like, Judge was bad. Like, it's straight, like, start to finish playoffs was bad. Was a net, I won't say net negative, but was at best neutral for the Yankees. And well beyond, well under what we're used to seeing him give to this team offensively. But again, show the graphic one more time, guys. Like, this is kind of what the Yankees have been. They've been an average baseball team, and they're a one-dimensional baseball team. Again, the record, average, ERA, stolen bases, hits, those are all below average. 5th in home runs. That's what they built the team for. And again, kudos to them. They got to the World Series in as weak of an American League playoffs. I said this coming into the playoffs as I've ever seen. I'm like, any of the 6 teams could make it. Any of them. And so, yeah, for New York, this is kind of a disaster. Because they're going to lose Juan Soto. Judge is only getting older. I don't trust Aaron Boone. I think a lot of Yankees fans don't trust Aaron Boone. You just wasted, threw it in the garbage can. 2 great Garrett Cole starts in games 1 and 5. So I think the Yankees are in bad shape moving forward. And listen, I don't know where the Red Sox are going to be. I'm not overly optimistic given how cheap the front office is, but at least they're going to be right down with us. And just for the sake of argument, and just to throw this out there, that since 2004, the Yankees have won 1 title. The Red Sox have won 4. None of my business. I don't know why I brought that up. What am I talking about? Okay, anyways, to football. Another team in New York won. Quite shockingly. Not gonna lie to y'all, I didn't see it coming. As a matter of fact, I spent the entire week just ripping Vegas. I mean, you guys think I ripped the Jets. I ripped Vegas maybe more than that. I'm thinking, okay, I get Houston's beat up. I get it. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, offensive. I get it. Still, Jets are home. Cool. They've lost 5 straight games. They just most recently came off to a loss to the New England Patriots, the least talented offense in professional football. Well, how do they deserve to be favorites? But that is why they beat. That is why they build stats. Vegas has money to build statues and gigantic, elaborate, gorgeous casinos, and I and most bettors do not. But the point is, Jets win this game 21-13 over the Texans, and I'll get to the Houston side of it in just a second because I should start with the Jets because that to me is the lead because it's back again. There's almost, in a way, the Jets winning last night might actually be kind of good for my show, selfishly, because if they drop to 2-7 and lose 6 straight, I think most people would have thrown up their hands and say, okay, this team's disaster. Let's just move on. Now, the 3-6, they've won a game. There's folks out there saying, hey, look at their schedule. There's some winnable football games, to which I say, I don't see a single gimme left on their schedule. Not one, okay? Because from here on out, they got the Cardinals, who have a frisky team and a talented offense. They got the Colts at home. They got the Seahawks at home. They go to Miami, to Jacksonville. Then they host the Rams, go to Buffalo, and then host the Dolphins. They have 6 losses now. It's going to minimum take you 10 to get in the playoffs. You're going to tell me the rest of the season the Jets are not going to lose 4 games? I beg to differ. But at the same time, credit goes where credit is due. And Aaron Rodgers, who I've criticized, rightfully so, Aaron was flat out playing poorly this year and flat out has not been that good of a quarterback in 3 years. With that said, after a terrible first half, he's missing routine throws to Devontae Adams, to Mike Williams. He was fantastic. Again, credit goes where credit's due. This was Aaron Rodgers in the second half, folks. And I'm sure Alfred, diehard Jets fan, was happy making this one after making so many negative Aaron graphics, or rather truth-telling ones. But Aaron Rodgers last night, second half, 179 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, completed 83% of his throws, and had an almost perfect pass rating, 147.7. So Aaron was fantastic. Garrett Wilson with the catch of the year, the best catch in that stadium, certainly since Odell's back in 2014. A decade ago. Maybe Odell's the best catch I've ever seen. I'm with Chris Collinsworth. Garrett's is in the top 10, no doubt. Maybe top 5. It was an unbelievable catch. Really kind of turned the momentum of that game, as did the missed kick field goal, which ended up being 1 of 2 from Kaimi Fairbairn from the Houston Texans. But for the Jets, listen, they weren't going to lose every game the rest of the season. We're going to go 2-15, but they're 3-6, and it's going to be fun for my show. Because Aaron's going to go on McAfee. He's going to say, hey, guys, because Aaron already said this week, fountain of youth, cayenne, pepper, and water. Just mix it up and leads you to the fountain of youth. Al Michaels was all over it last night on Amazon. The great Al Michaels. And he said, Aaron can have you, Aaron, what was it? He said something, he said, like, Aaron could sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. Like, he's that persuasive. Like, this is a guy who can convince you of just about anything. And Aaron has a persuasive way about it. There's no question about it. And, of course, the media, which says it doesn't like Aaron. I don't know. They seem to kind of fawn over him and talk about him every chance they get. Sure. I mean, crap. So do I. They're going to fall into his trap. Believe in the Jets. Who knows? Maybe they beat the Cardinals and they improve to 4-6. It doesn't mean anything, guys. This is not a good football team. It is. By the way, I apologize. I said earlier in the segment that they would go without losing 4 games. That's bad math. That's terrible math on my part. The best case scenario for the Jets to get in the playoffs is they'll only lose 2 games the rest of the season. The best case is to lose 2 games the rest of the year. I don't know. Let's see. Miami's got Tua back. The Cardinals the Cardinals beat the Niners. Cardinals are a frisky football team. The Colts are good now that Flacco's in the lineup. At least their offense is. Trevor Lawrence has been balling. The Rams are healthy, and they play the Bills the second to last game of the season in Buffalo. That doesn't seem to bode well for the Jets, but hey, what do I know? I've only been right on this team every step of the way except for last night. Still not that good. Aaron's played better. Credit to where it's due. He woke up after that terrible first half. But still, even in Jets wins, there's always a moment where you're like, same old Jets. Like when they beat the Patriots and Salah, we've all seen a million times, don't even have to show you the footage. Salah goes in for a big bear hug and Aaron's like, get away from me, and then gives him a real kind of like ominous side eye. First half of the game, I'm sure everybody's seen it. Jets got the ball at the Houston Texans 34-yard line. This kid Corley comes around the edge. We see in live real time, looks like he scored a touchdown to put the Jets up 7-0 until we see he dropped the ball before he crossed the goal line. It's like same old Jets. Like this is, you ever see the Chiefs do that? By the way, the blame goes 100% on the player, but the Jets aren't terribly intent on fundamentals. The Chiefs are, Steelers are, the Niners are, so the Rams and the Lions and the well-coached teams, they kind of nip that in the bud, like in training camp. Jets don't because they're not well-coached. So the Jets are still the Jets. They're not doing anything. It just delays the inevitable. But for the Houston Texans, though, because this is, to me, starting to become a little bit of an alarming trend for Houston. So we know this is a beat-up offense. Nico Collins has been out since he got hurt in week 5. It's been out week 6 on. Stephon Diggs is hurt, out for the year, unfortunately, with the torn ACL. Prayers for him that he heals sooner rather than later. And an offensive line that was beat up coming in, playing poorly coming in, and now got more beat up. They just lost one of their guards for the season with an injury. And CJ Stroud has not been good at all the last 3 games. CJ Stroud, in the stretch, since if I could pull up the numbers on my phone, we didn't do a graphic for this one. If I could pull up this on my phone, CJ Stroud in the last 3 games of the season, okay, has 1 touchdown pass and a passer rating in the low 70s. So if I'm going to be, and the reason I bring that up is to say 2 things. Number one is a take that I've been right on. I feel like I've been right on for a while. Just got to take a little bit, be patient. This is why, folks, I don't just, if I look like I'm wrong initially, I'm not like the rest of the media and just sell the farm, sell the take. I never said that. I'm just going to act like I never said that. No. I'm going to double and triple down, baby. And it'll sometimes come back to bite you in the butt, but sometimes days like this, it'll make you look good. CJ Stroud, 11 touchdowns, 4 picks, 63.5% completion, 2,100 yards, 91.9 passer rating, 56.3 QBR. I know I said those numbers pretty fast, but see if these numbers sound similar. This other quarterback, who, by the way, people think Stroud's awesome. People think this other guy's terrible. The other guy, 11 touchdowns, exactly the same. 4 picks, exactly the same. 62.6 completion, about 1% less, tomato. 300 less yards, but Stroud's played an extra game. Better passer rating, 93.9. Way better QBR, 65.4. You know who that quarterback is? Trevor Lawrence, who I've been told all season long is I mean, might as well the Jags made the worst contract decision other than Deshaun Watson from what has been reported, in which in reality, Trevor in the last, I think it's 3 to 4 games has a passer rating of like 109. Like Trevor's been, like I've been saying on my show, Trevor's low-key been balling lately. Stroud is not. The second reason I bring that Stroud thing up is because if I'm going to be, because with young quarterbacks, you never fully know, as I've said for years, until about the end of year 3. Bill Parcells, the great Bill Parcells, I've repeated over and over, and I will today. When it comes to developing young quarterbacks, year 1, developmental year, you get what you get, and you kind of move on, improve on the weaknesses. Year 2, you kind of need to see an improvement. You certainly don't want to see a step taken back. And if by year 3, you're still not sure, you move on. Now, I'm not saying you move on from CJ Stroud. I'm not implying that in any way, shape, or form. That would be idiotic on my part. However, he is in year 2. And for all the Texans' problems prior to them drafting him, the offense is kind of stacked this year. Was at least. Collins, Dell, Diggs, Mixon, Schultz. Good backup running back when healthy. Sure, the offensive line is a question, but you got a good defense with a good defensive coach. By the way, a brilliant offensive play caller, Bobby Slovic, who's probably going to be a head coach maybe next year. The pieces are all there. For the record, a very weak division. You haven't been that good. Fair's fair. If that were Brock Purdy, I'd be crushing him. Because I've said prior to the Niners' injuries, kind of a similar spot. Brilliant offensive play caller, great defense, unbelievable weapons. Now, the difference is the Niners have veteran weapons. The Texans don't, but the Texans still have excellent weapons. And I'd be crushing Purdy for that. Purdy is in year 3. Stroud's in year 2. Why can't I bring that same energy to CJ Stroud? See, when a Joe Burrow or a Mahomes or an Allen or Lamar Jackson, anybody like that has kind of a cold stretch of play, I'm not going to act like it's a referendum on them because I have an overwhelming amount of evidence to say they're great. They're just going through a rough patch. But if I don't have a ton of evidence on you in general, most of it's good. No doubt, Offensive Rookie of the Year with CJ Stroud. And then when everything isn't going ideally, I see a bit of a step back, and so much of a step back that you've thrown 1 touchdown in 3 games. It's fair to ask a few questions. A few? Is that unfair? We ripped Dak when he has a bad 3-game stretch. Now, again, Dak's a veteran, but Dak has an overwhelming evidence to say, yeah, he's at worst the 12th best quarterback. At best, at his peak, I think he pushes top 5 at best when he pushes his peak. So I think there does need to be a certain level, and the Texans aren't a national brand. They don't play last night notwithstanding. They don't play a ton of primetime games, but they just lost to the New York Jets, who've lost 5 straight games coming off of a loss to the New England Patriots. Your defense was fine. 21 points isn't ideal, but it's not like it's impossible to win a game. Your defense gives up 21. Your running back had it rolling. It's a fair question and criticism to have. If we're going to be consistent, let's do that. Here we go. Excuse me. I appreciate the comment. Daryl, can my Rams win it all? Yes. Not saying they will. They can because they're getting healthy. You're going to see my picks later. I like where the Rams are going. Yeah, Jeff is okay. And by the way, Jeff is kind of spot on. If it was Brock or Dak having this stretch of games, we would never hear the end of it, and Brock has never had 4 straight bad games like Stroud. I think it's been 3 games with Stroud. He was good, even though it was against the Patriots, so, still, I think it's more 3 games, but nonetheless, that's fair. If Brock ever had a bad game, he gets back on track next week like we saw against the Cowboys. Jeff is just like singing my praises. He's like, thank you. You're bashing a quarterback for playing below his standard when his weapons aren't there. Jeff, and Brock is missing almost everybody, and Stroud is missing Nico and Diggs. He still has great pieces. And then, I mean, listen, by the way, too, with Purdy, because he was missing a lot of games and I thought played very well against the Cowboys. No turnovers, saved himself from a near one late game, which could have altered the course of the game, potentially, given the short field for Dallas. Another story for another day. But once he gets not Nico, I'm thinking about the Texans. Once he gets McCaffrey back, once he gets Debo, because Debo, listen, it's the pneumonia. He's beat up. Debo needed that by more than a single soul in that Niners team. So Debo's going to be back. I think he's going to be ready to go. Debo in the second half of seasons tends to be better than he is in the first half. Debo will be great. Kittle is still awesome. McCaffrey will be back. So, I'm certainly going to hold Purdy to a higher standard once those guys are back, as I would with any quarterback with more weapons. But we gotta be consistent. That's all I'm saying. Be back in a minute for the Vol View. Cannot wait. Tennessee and Kentucky. Be back in 1 minute on Carving Up Live. We're just getting started, folks. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Carving Up Live. So it's Friday. And of course, mid-show every Friday, as we've been doing since the start of the 2023 season. We're going to be doing the Vol View. For those that don't know, I'm a big Tennessee fan. You can see, we'll see the speakers right there, the JBL speaker to celebrate the Yankees' loss. I got a couple Tennessee helmets back here. The white one and the smoky gray one, which has actually got the new smoky gray one's got the Great Smoky Mountains. I don't know if you can see that, but the little ridges, the mountains, which celebrate the beauty here in the great state of Tennessee. But this week, Halloween week, it's Halloween weekend. Come on. Tennessee's going to be going in all black, baby. And so, without further ado, the Vol View starts right now. And of course, it's football time in Tennessee, baby. You're darn right. It's football time in Tennessee.
In Tennessee.
Yes, indeed it is. It's football time in Tennessee. I am, of course, wearing my black Tennessee hoodie, black and orange, which are the colors of Halloween, as we've become known to see it. Tennessee going in the all-black uniforms against Kentucky. They almost the Tennessee's social media team did an unbelievable job. Give every single man and woman in that department a raise for the job they did. That they venomized it. Like, you know, you see when Eddie Brock turns into Venom and it takes over his body. That's what they did. A Tennessee player was wearing the typical orange and white. They did that to turn it into the black uniforms. Anyway, it was really cool. Definitely Google it because it was awesome. But more than looking good, Tennessee's going to need to play good. They got Kentucky at home, a struggling Kentucky Wildcats team. At home, the Vols are a 17.5-point favorite, which is pretty commonplace in college football for a top 10 ranked team against an unranked team that is struggling. But Kentucky is in a spot where, after upsetting Ole Miss, and it's like, oh my gosh, Mark Stoops is doing it again. They've lost 3 straight games to Vanderbilt, who's playing good football, badly to Florida. They got smoked at home by Florida, and then lost by double digits at home to Auburn. Google Auburn's record. It's not going to blow your socks off. So again, going on the road to Knoxville is certainly a tall task for the Wildcats. Here's what I'm looking to see for Tennessee, and here's to me why it's going to set the tone for the second half this season. Is that I talked about on the Vol View on this show the last couple of weeks, the last couple of games, Tennessee's big rivalry matchups. Florida at home, favored by a lot, win by the skin of their teeth in overtime. Then Alabama, dogs at home. I was at that game. It was unbelievable. And Tennessee pulls away with a great defensive second half and a much better offensive second half. Little Aaron Rodgers last night to get the job done in the end and kind of eliminate Alabama, in my opinion, out of SEC title contention. We'll see but how it's going to affect the Tide in the playoffs or the playoff. Tennessee's big issue offensively, because defensively, you can make a perfectly legitimate case. Tennessee, Georgia, who's the best defense in college football? Both have been unreal this season. Tennessee this season, folks. Okay, we're 7 games in. The Vols have yet to give up 20 points this season. Even in their loss to Arkansas, Razorbacks got 19. Tennessee has not given up 20 all season long. So defense has been unbelievable. James Pierce, one of, if not the best pass rushers in college football. Jermon McCoy, listen, I'm not going to sit up here and act like he's Travis Hunter. Jermon McCoy is a shutdown corner who any NFL team that drafts him is going to be very, very lucky to get this kid. He's special. Even despite the loss of Peely, the linebacker, Tennessee's in great shape defensively. Offensively, they can run the football the best of them. Dylan Sampson, I think he's about to break the single-season touchdown rushing record for Tennessee running backs, so shout out to him. The running game is great. The problem for the Vols offensively has been pretty darn simple. The deep ball's just not working. For one of two reasons. Either Nico Iamaleava has been overshooting guys that are wide open, be it Scroll White, who's dealing with injuries, be it DeAndre Thornton, be it any of these guys, Brazel, just overshooting guys constantly, or he's delivering around the money, and the guy's just straight up dropping the football. And so I said this after the Alabama game, that you survive the Alabama game, great. That is a gigantic win for the Vols, certainly for SEC title contention, if not for college football playoff contention. Is that if you can hit that, work on that during the off week. Josh Heupel, one of the smartest coaches in college football on the offensive side. You got the piece to do it. You got the quarterback to do it. Hitting that D ball, oh my God. What that opens up for Tennessee, it makes, because Alabama, if you noticed, for those that watch the game, Bama's like, Nico beat us. You beat us on the top, Nico. We're going to stop number 6, Dylan Sampson. We're going to stop the run game, ensure that Tennessee is playing in long down situations over the course of 60 minutes. Then once Tennessee started to get the deep ball going, the running game started open, and it was a brand new ball game. And so for Tennessee, I want to see them open up not even open up the deep ball, because Heupel's been calling the play since he got too conservative against Arkansas. Gets Florida, bad throws and drops. Gets Bama, bad throws and drops on deep balls, even though they've connected on a couple toward the end, including what ended up being the game-winning touchdown in the backcourt in the end zone. It was a great throw by Nico. So Tennessee's in a great spot. They're the 7th-ranked team in the country for a reason. The first college football playoff poll, which we know, that's the one that matters. AP polls are relevant from Tuesday on Election Day, ironically. So you got one gigantic country-altering poll, and then you got a big college football playoff poll on the same day. Tennessee 7th-ranked. I imagine they'll be somewhere in that ballpark because they're going to get the job done against the Kentucky Wildcats. That says Kentucky's 5-1. I apologize. That should say Kentucky is 3-5. But Tennessee will win this game 38-16. They'll cover the 17.5-point spread against Kentucky, get the W. Tennessee will move to 6-1, potentially depending on what happens above them with Ohio State and Penn State. And if there's any upsets, who knows? It's college football. That's what makes it great. Tennessee could potentially move up in the college football playoff poll. So, in the all-black uniforms, Tennessee's going to look good. I want to see them connect on the deep ball. I'm not worried about the defense. Tim Banks, who's the defensive coordinator for Tennessee, he's going to be getting a lot of head coaching offers. I don't know what Danny White, the athletic director of Tennessee, I don't know what he's got to pay that man. Give him a blank check. Okay, match every contract. Heck, exceed every contract. The team's going to offer that guy, that defensive coordinator, Tim Banks. He's too darn valuable to that defense, which has been unbelievable. Kentucky will not score 20. That will continue Tennessee's streak. No 20-point games given up for the Vols this year, and they will get the W 38-16 over the Kentucky Wildcats. Get to 6-1, rather 7-1. I apologize. Continue to move up the college football playoff ranks, which will be released on Tuesday. And as always, once again, it is great to be a Tennessee Vol. That is it for this week's edition of the Vol View.
You're darn right. It's football time in Tennessee.
in Tennessee.
And by the way, too, I'm actually going to be at that game as well, so that's going to be fun. I've never seen a night game in Meaningless Stadium with Tennessee wearing the black uniforms, so I'm excited to see what those look like, because, man, they are fire, and that is putting it mildly. Okay, so it's the end of Friday's show, so you know what that means. We got NFL predictions coming up down the pipeline, so we got Bryson's Bleak Bet. This has been listen, we're kind of at the midway point in the NFL season. It's an 18-week regular season. We're in week 9, so we're basically at the midway point. And I have to say, I'm not exactly where I want to be as it pertains to my 3 special segments. As far as Bryson's Bleak Bet, I'm 500. I'm 4-4. As far as upset of the week, that record isn't going to look great because it's an upset. You got to kind of go out on a limb, 3-5. And as far as if I were a betting man, my favorite segment in the world, if I were a betting man, 9-13-2. Not great. I pick 3 games every week to predict, 4 if I were a bet man, and just not an ideal situation right now. But optimism reigns supreme. Even though I'm off to an 0-1 start, as they always say, it's the biggest cliche in sports. It ain't about how you start. It's about how you finish. And we're going to finish strong. We're having a big-time weekend in the NFL. And we're going to give you some good betting tips. So let's get the background music going on, and let's predict some NFL football, baby. For week 9, here we go. We will start in the AFC East. I have to admit to you guys right off the bat, this was almost Bryson's Bleak Bet. You got the Miami Dolphins, you got the Buffalo Bills from upstate New York. Buffalo is a 6-point favorite at home, so here's what we know. Tua Tagovailoa against the spread in his career against winning football teams, 3-8-1. So in other words, not a very good quarterback. Now, the thing about Tua being bad in cold weather, and it's a true stat, Tua is a terrible quarterback in cold weather. The passer rating goes down to like the 70s or something. It's going to be like it is where I'm at all around the country. It's odd, almost like the earth is heating up. It's going to be unseasonably warm in Buffalo. It's going to be a warm afternoon, so that I don't think weather will be the issue for the Miami Dolphins. Like it'll might feel like a regular Miami Sunday afternoon at Hard Rock Stadium. Here's what I know about the Bills. Is that even despite division games being close, even despite the fact the Dolphins are playing for their season, all of these different things, Buffalo quietly over the last 3 weeks has looked unreal over the last 3 weeks. So they start off, they survived that game with the Jets. The Jets, they're not good. But then they advance the following week. Okay, they take out Tennessee, and that was a game that folks were like, hey, that's a sexy take Tennessee in the points, and Buffalo mops them. A good defense, by the way, in Tennessee. And then they face the Seattle Seahawks on the road in Seattle, where it felt like the entire gambling community was like, Seahawks and the points, hammer that. I didn't, but I was thinking this will be close. How's 31-10 in Seattle work for you? Against a Seahawks team that was riding high after going against Atlanta. Point being, Buffalo's rolling offensively. The addition of Amari Cooper has done wonders. It's opened it up for Keon Coleman for the running game. The offensive line's great. Kincaid. Like Buffalo, I said before the season, prior to them getting Amari, this offense is way more talented than it gets credit for. Now you got Amari Cooper. It's a really good one. This Bills defense is playing exceptional football, and they don't have Matt Milano. Will they get him? We'll see. Definitely going to go with the Bills on the spot, minus the 6 points, barely. I'll give it 31-24. The Dolphins will fight. Their season's basically on the line. If the Dolphins lose, they're probably done. The Bills win this game 31-24 against Miami and get to 7-2. And again, the Bills were number 3 on Bryce's Best 10. I really like them a lot, as much as I ever have in the history of the show. Ironically, when most people didn't. I'll tell you, just pay attention to these preseason predictions that I give you, because I try to help you with your predictions as well. The Baltimore Ravens, yes, at home, hosting the Denver Broncos. Despite being 5-3 and with one of the best defenses in football, the Broncos are 9.5-point dogs against Baltimore. So here's the thing. The Ravens have 3 crises going on right now. 3. Number 1 has been going on since the 2020 seasons. They flat out can't close games. Even whether they win or lose, they can't close games. Blew a double-digit lead to Vegas in week 2. Almost pulled a choke job against Dallas. In a game, they're smoking Dallas in week 3. Dak leads a furious comeback to where Lamar Jackson has to make a big-time play on 3rd down just to save the Ravens from losing. Against Tampa Bay, you're up, I think it was, 30 points or so, 28 points. Tampa Bay cuts that to a 10-point game in the 4th quarter. Okay? So that could have been, and it was a winnable spot for Tampa. Had a shot to win that game. Then the last week, they blow a 4th quarter lead to the Cleveland Browns. They struggle in close games. That's number one. Number two, the problem with the Baltimore Ravens is they have an objectively terrible pass defense. Matter of fact, the single worst in football. They give up, the Ravens actually this year, I think I saw a stat, give up 19 points per game just in the second half, just in 30 minutes of football. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, I don't know what Baltimore wants to be. I don't. They just traded for Deontay Johnson, who's a productive receiver. I know as a Steelers fan, what do they want to be? Because when they added Derrick Henry, it was, we're going to go back to our roots. Derrick Henry's going to be the focal point of our offense. Lamar's going to throw 18 to 23 times. But they have Zay Flowers. And now they just added Mark Andrews back, Isaiah Likely. Now they just traded for Deontay Johnson. Derrick Henry just had 11 carries last week. Shocker, they lost. And I love Lamar Jackson. I don't know what the Ravens want to be. Meanwhile, Denver, albeit they played a fourth-place schedule, third-place schedule. Broncos have had a quietly good defense, and Bo Nix has quietly been a really solid rookie quarterback. Sean Payton's been doing his thing. Broncos, the points feels like a pretty safe bet. Give me the Ravens to cover. They're the better team, 26-21. But minus 9.5 is, I can't do that with the way the Ravens have such an identity crisis and have such a terrible pass defense. Definitely going to go with the Ravens 26-21, but the Broncos plus 9.5. This one was almost one of my if I were a Bettin Man games. You got the Los Angeles Chargers going to Cleveland to take on the resurgent Browns. Now, nobody's saying the Browns are going to make the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination, but here's what we know about Cleveland. Jameis Winston's back. Jameis Winston had a game, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, pass rating over 100, in beating the aforementioned Baltimore Ravens. The issue, though, is the simple fact that Jameis didn't go turnover free. He had a big turnover at the end of the first half that led to some Baltimore points at the end of the half. He also, in the second half of that game, threw at least, I counted 2 or 3 what should have been interceptions that just got dropped, just straight up. And so Jameis, ever the reckless quarterback, ever the Bruce Arians, who actually coached him for a year, no risk it, no biscuit guy, he's going to take some risk. He's going to throw some really bad interceptions. If the Ravens didn't make him pay, I think we're in a spot where the Chargers very well could. LA's defense quietly has been tremendous over the last few weeks, or really all season long. I like LA's defense. Justin Herbert last week statistically was the best quarterback in football in Week 8. I like where the Chargers are going. Listen, you got to play the long game. NFL's a long season, folks. It's a marathon, not a sprint. My preseason prediction of Chargers in the AFC title game against Kansas City, I ain't moving off that thing one bit, baby. Give me the Chargers in this spot. I like them a lot, minus 1.5 to win this one pretty comfortably in Cleveland, 26-16 over the Browns to advance to a 5-3 record. I don't know a soul, I don't know a person in my life who's going to be watching this game except for me, because I have to give a mini take on it on Monday's show. New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers. Only notable story in this game is Derek Carr's back in the lineup. I guess he's a better option than Spencer Rattler at this point. Derek is fine. He's nothing special. But the Saints, this goes to show you how bad Carolina is. They're a 7-point favorite on the road against the Carolina Panthers. I've given Carolina too many chances at this point. I took them in the points against Washington, and they lost 40-3. I am done. You know what? Pledge on my show. I'm done. I don't literally bet. That's why the segment's called If I Were a Bettin Man. I'm done betting the Carolina Panthers. I'm not touching that team moving forward until they prove me otherwise, that they are not far and away the worst team of football, and that maybe Texas, Georgia, or Oregon could beat them in a 60-minute football game. Saints win this one big, 34-20. I mean, 20 might be generous for the Panthers, but the Saints have a middling defense. New Orleans with Derek Carr back scores 34. The Panthers are still awful. Saints win 34-20. They do cover the 7-point spread. This one, here we go. The times for Bryson Bleak bet. It's one game each and every week that I have absolutely zero confidence in predicting, but hey, you got to predict them all. Vegas Raiders, Cincinnati Bengals. I don't feel great about this. I really don't. Here's what I do know. Here's what I do feel confident in. If the Bengals lose this game, their season is over. Their season is over at 3-6 in a division like the AFC North, where the Steelers and Ravens will be on a collision course till the final whistle, so to speak. Both will be playoff teams. They're not. And by the way, in an AFC that's just stacked with wild card wannabes, if the Bengals follow the same record, despite how well Joe Burrow's played over the breadth of the season, if they follow the same record as those New York Jets, they're cooked. They're not winning the Super Bowl. Or certainly not winning the Super Bowl. They're not making the playoffs. They're playing the Las Vegas Raiders, who are Max Crosby. I'm still not giving up hope that he could be traded. Obviously, they've already traded Devontae Adams. Brock Bowers looks as good as advertised. I saw this kid play once live when Georgia played Tennessee. I've seen him many times on television. This kid is as as gifted physically as any tight end you'll ever see. He's just in a bad situation with bad quarterback. But this Brock Bowers kid, keep your eye on him and remember that name. He's going to be awesome if he gets in the right situation. Gardner Minshew's throwing him passes. The Raiders' offensive line's blocking. The run game's not good. The defense has been struggling. The Raiders aren't a very good football team. I'll take Cincinnati 30-20. But if they lose this game, take it. Obviously, that's Cincinnati -7. That's Bryce's Bleak bet. If Cincinnati loses this game, their season is a wrap. I said this was the part of their season that they need to kind of reel off some wins. If they lose this, good night, and good night, Irene. The Bengals are done. That's Bryce's Bleak bet. Washington Commanders, New York Giants, NFC East divisional matchup. The Commanders are favored -4. So the betting public kind of likes the Giants in the spot for the simple fact that, A, they went to Pittsburgh, play my Steelers very close. And number 2, the Giants don't do a lot of things well. But across the board, they're top 5 in virtually everything when it comes to getting to the quarterback. Pressure, sacks, the whole bit. Dexter Lawrence is, I've said with the retirement of Aaron Donald, Chris Jones the best DT in football. Dexter Lawrence is saying, hold my beer. You may play for a title contender, I don't. But I'm close to you in that department. I can get to the quarterback. Here's the thing, though. Against most other teams, I would say, okay, Giants might be the side here. But 2 problems. A, Daniel Jones has not thrown a touchdown pass at home in 2 years. In 2 years. Daniel Jones has not scored a touchdown at home in 2 years. Number 2, from a matchup standpoint, Giants may be able to get to the quarterback. Washington may not have a great O-line. But Jaden Daniels, the quarterback, and Jaden Daniels can move. Now, will he be more reluctant to move? Again, it's a matter of pick your poison for Jaden Daniels. Am I going to run for my life and get hit after I get past the line of scrimmage? Or am I going to get hit by a big 300-plus pound defensive lineman, get driven into the earth, and hurt my ribs even more than they're already hurt? I think Jaden Daniels is going to choose the latter. I'm going to take the Commanders in a relatively, if we can pull up the score here, relatively close game. They do cover the 4 points, 23-16. Washington, the shock of the league thus far this year. I thought the Commanders would be good. I didn't think it'd be this good. I had them winning 8 games. I think they'll get win number 7 just a weekend in November. Commanders 23, Giants 16. Washington advances to 4. Cover the 4 points. They get to 6-2. Get to a 6-2 record. Okay. This is probably the Bryce's Bleak bet of
Bettin Man.
If I were a betting man, it's risky, but I like it, and I'll tell you why. Dallas Cowboys, Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is a 3.5-point favorite at home, and you understand why. Atlanta is the more talented offense. Atlanta is certainly riding high, flying high, no pun intended. And Dallas simply is not doing that. They've lost 2 straight games, got smoked by the Lions, and up until a couple of touchdown passes late, they were getting smoked by the 49ers. I like Dallas plus 3.5 for the simple reason. Number 1, they're playing for their season. Dallas loses this game, you can make a credible case given their schedule moving forward. Philly, Houston, Washington, they got some tough games down the road this season. They have to win this game just to keep head above water. We're 4-4. It's not the end of the world. Maybe we won't catch Washington, even though we do play them twice, and Philly twice the rest of this year. It's all out in front of us. All the noise. We get a W against a good team. Here's the thing for Atlanta. For as great as they're offensively, and for as great as they can run the football, and if you tell me if by Monday's show I'm talking about how the Falcons ran all over the Cowboys, I don't think anybody will be shocked. With that said, Atlanta can be had defensively. I thought they would improve by adding Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons. They haven't. They've got torched multiple times by Baker Mayfield, by Geno Smith. Andy Dalton made it somewhat, given Carolina's talent, made it kind of competitive against the Falcons a few weeks back. So it's a bad pass defense for as terrible as Dallas's receivers are. CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott still there. And by the way, as I've said from the jump, said on Monday's show, love Dak, favorite quarterback on the planet. And I've defended him because of the mess around him in Dallas. But here's the thing. It was a mess last year. It was an untalented roster last year, and he almost won league MVP. I need to see more from Dak Prescott. He's heard the noise. Dak's going to get the job done. Give me the Dallas Cowboys in an upset. If I were a bet man, give me Dallas plus 3.5 and to win this puppy outright by a final score of 28-23 over the Atlanta Falcons. Dallas 28, Falcons 23. If I were a bet man, give me the Dallas Cowboys plus 3.5. We can take this graphic out. There we go. Sorry, it looks like we're dealing with some Wi-Fi problems. Hopefully we can survive by the end of the show without having to go kaput. All right, what do we got next? New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. Oh, it looks like we're freezing. Hang on just a second. Let's see what we got. because the Wi-Fi is not giving a whole lot of ground right now. Hang on. Gonna be patient right now, folks. I apologize. Deal with some connectivity issues. We'll keep rolling. I think the connection looks fine on my monitor. Let's keep rolling. You got the New England Patriots, got the Tennessee Titans in Nashville, one of the greatest cities in America. Tennessee is a 3.5 point favorite against a New England team that got a win on Sunday against the New York Jets. So, look, for Tennessee, there's injuries to Levis. It could be Mason Rudolph again. You know, I have a soft spot in my heart for Mason Rudolph, given what he did briefly in Pittsburgh, giving some life to an otherwise kind of dead offense at the end of last season, helping us get to the playoffs. The Wi-Fi is still giving us problems. Wi-Fi is still giving us problems. Hang on. Well, let's take a pause in the action. Take a super quick break. And I will exit the studio, and we will take a quick break and have the Wi-Fi issues taken care of. So stay with us. Be back in about 30 seconds. Hopefully everything. Let's bring everything back here. Hopefully everything is resolved. Okay, Wi-Fi looks to be back. We look to be ready to go. So let's get the background music going on right now. We're right back into the New England Patriots. I like Tennessee in the spot because of the simple fact that the Titans quietly, and they're not a very good football team. They've won one game. Number one in the NFL, folks, are the Tennessee Titans in terms of yards allowed per game. So Tennessee quietly has a solid defense. They've got a decent secondary. Jeffrey Simmons, they've got a good defensive line. So I think that'll give New England problems. Listen, the Patriots beat the Jets. The Jets, despite last night, aren't that good. Give me the Tennessee Titans to win this game. Cover the 3.5 point spread. 25-14. Tennessee gets a much needed win. Although if they want to get good draft positioning, I don't know if it's that much much needed. Give me the Titans 25 over the Patriots 14. Let's move on to our afternoon slate of football games. You got the Chicago Bears. You got the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona is a 2-point favorite at home. So I went back and forth on this one, and I settled on my pick probably 30 minutes before the show started. Cardinals are playing solid football. Kyler Murray's got it going. Marvin Harrison Jr. is more involved than he has been previously in the offense. The defense for Arizona is at least well coached. They're solid situationally. But for Chicago, here's the thing with the Bears, and I went back and forth on this. I don't know if that heartbreaking loss to the Commanders last week wrecked the locker room. I will know for sure after Sunday. Let's put it that way. Like there's an old saying, like don't let if there's a situation where if you lose to a team, if you lose to a team, like there was a college coach, I think it was an Oregon coach. The Ducks back then, they lost to Stanford. Colin Cowherd tells the story better than me. And they lost to Stanford when they shouldn't have, and then they went the following week and lost again. And the coach said, "You let Stanford beat you twice." You let Stanford beat you twice. So I think if you're in a situation where you're the Chicago Bears, we're not going to let Washington beat us twice. We're not going to let the after effects of a devastating loss at the end affect us in the game against Arizona. Caleb Williams, last week notwithstanding, has been fantastic over the last month. 3 games with a passer rating over 100. I still like Chicago's weapons. I don't, over the course of a 60-minute football game, totally trust the Cardinals. Again, they have not won 3 straight games. The Cardinals have not won 3 straight games since the 2021 season. I think that streak's going to continue. Give me the Bears in the spot and a little bit of an upset. They're only 2-point dogs. 20-17 over the Arizona Cardinals. I'll tell you again, if Chicago loses this game, this will tell me Eberflus combined with the ending in some part because of Eberflus cost them that game, or at least cost them the locker room, which you can lose games. You can't lose the locker room. I think the Bears will win this one, get their season back on track. 20-17 over the Arizona Cardinals. It is now time for my upset of the week. Give me the Jacksonville Jaguars, baby, over the Philadelphia Eagles, 34-29. Jacksonville plus 7.5. Win this puppy over Philadelphia. Here's why. So it's just like what I talked about in the CJ Stroud segment. It's pretty simple, folks. Trevor Lawrence over the last few weeks has quietly been really, really good. A pass rating well over 100. Okay, over the course of the season. He's top 10 in QBR. He's got 11 touchdowns to 4 picks. The Jaguars' problem has been their defense has stunk. It's been bad. So, like you saw 34-29, there's going to be a lot of points. Philly's offense, now that A.J. Brown's back and Devontae Smith, has been humming. Jalen Hurts has played. Jalen Hurts was fantastic against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to have to be a high-scoring affair. The good news is I still do not trust this Philadelphia Eagles defense. I know the numbers look far better than last year. Long-term, is that sustainable? Long-term, do I trust Nick Sirianni to have his guys ready to play a 1 o'clock home game when you got to go to Dallas, Texas and play the gosh darn Cowboys who you hate and they hate you? Big rivalry game. Like, Dallas is in a kind of a do-or-die spot here. The Eagles are not. They're 5-2. They're in great shape. And the Jaguars, season 1. Doug Peterson, by the way, homecoming. I won a Super Bowl here and was fired 3 seasons later, quite unceremoniously, if I do say so myself. You're going to tell me I'm going to lose in Philadelphia, get fired twice in the same city? I beg to differ. Trevor's been balling. Jaguars will get it going. Give me Jacksonville. Upset of the week, plus 7.5. Jaguars win. Trevor Lawrence keeps balling. I still believe in you, Trevor, even if nobody else does when you've been getting the job done lately. 34-29 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Biggest game this week, certainly most highly anticipated in the NFC North. You got the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers from Lambeau. Lions are a 2.5-point favorite. So the question is Jordan Love going to play? That's the thing that we are all kind of looking at is, yes, Malik Willis has done his thing. He was really good. He was fine against the Colts, more played a game manager role. I was there the next week in Tennessee against a solid Titans defense. Malik Willis was really good. It's a credit in large part due to Matt LaFleur. Then he comes in last week against the aforementioned Jaguars. Trevor goes down. Love goes down. Trevor's balling. Trevor's leading the comeback. It's tied with 2 minutes to go. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Jacksonville's gonna come through and get the job done. And then Malik Willis throws an absolute dime of the top to Jaden Reed, who helps get them in field goal range. Brandon McManus, the new kicker, walks it off at the end. So Green Bay's at home. Green Bay is an outstanding home team. Jordan Love, last 2 games at home, or at least prior to the Texas game, rather. He doesn't hit the last 3 home games for Green Bay. Jordan Love with 10 touchdown passes. Now, for Detroit, I know there's been a lot of noise about, hey, they're rolling teams. They rolled Dallas. They rolled the Titans. Like, they're riding high, feeling good about themselves, all these different things. I get it. But there's a situation with Detroit. It's almost identical to Pittsburgh because of the style of head coach. They go about their operations philosophically differently in terms of what they do on the field. As far as just pure principle, Mike Tomlin's got the Steelers ready to play every single week. Dan Campbell's got the Lions ready to play every single week. Regardless of what, if it's a big game like against Green Bay at Lambeau Field, or whether it's a spot where you're against the Titans at home and it could be a look-ahead game and you smoke them 52-14. Detroit's been looking forward to this game. The winner, as well as Detroit's been playing in this 5-game winning streak when Goff has the best passer rating in NFL history in a 5-game stretch. They lose this game, they're not first in the division anymore. It's going to be a great game. I think Jordan Love's going to play. There's going to be turnovers. I wouldn't be shocked if there's an officiating call that we all get mad at. I'm going to keep rolling with the team I've had at number 2 on Bryce's best 10 for the job. Give me the Detroit Lions, my adopted team. Detroit minus 2.5. They win this thing. I'm not going to bet this game. I just want to enjoy this game from start to finish. Lions over the Packers, 27-24. Detroit over Green Bay to maintain supremacy in the oh-so-tough NFC North. It's now time for my second game for a Bettin Man. I'm looking at this is my favorite bet of the week. The Los Angeles Rams, the Seattle Seahawks divisional matchup in the NFC West, in the Pacific Northwest. The Rams are a 1-point favorite in Seattle. I love the Rams in the spot -1. So let me get this straight. The Rams have won 2 straight. The Rams are healthy now. Cooper Kupp. Now, Puka Nacua suffered an injury in practice. Sean McVay said it. He should be ready to go. It's not going to be anything serious. So Puka Nacua is back. Cooper Kupp's back. Matthew Stafford is coming off an unbelievable performance at home against the Vikings. Oh, by the way, the Rams will get 10 days off. You give Sean McVay, a coach of his stature, one of the 5 best in the league, 10 days to prepare for you against the Seahawks team that I get it. Well-coached teams get pissed off after a blowout. I've said that my entire life, and you want to go with those teams generally against the spread, on a week-to-week basis, given how they're looking. I think Mike McDaniel, we're seeing with Baltimore now, is a brilliant defensive coordinator. I don't know for certain one way or the other if he's a good or great coach. So I haven't bought the Seattle hype, that there was some Seattle hype coming into this season as a potential playoff team. I didn't buy it. I did buy the Rams as an NFC West division winner. I still do. Give me Los Angeles big over the Seahawks, 37-21. Seattle might get some garbage time points at the end, but the Rams are clearly the better team. They're going to get this W, get to 4-4, jump the Seahawks in the standings, and then put themselves in position, because I think the Cardinals are going to lose, to actually be in first place. Go from worst to first in the span of a few weeks. Have the tiebreaker right now over the 49ers, and that'll be a fun collision course to the finish line. I think the Rams are about to go on a run and be super scary in the NFC. LA 37, Seattle 21. And again, time for my final game for
Bettin Man.
All right, Bettin Man. Let's look at a game that just got flexed into Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago. You got the Indianapolis Colts, and you've got the Minnesota Vikings from Minneapolis. The Vikings are a 5-point favorite at home. So I looked at this, and I'm thinking, okay, Minnesota's a well-coached team. They got extra time to prepare, all these different things. Meanwhile, the Colts, they're dealing with the turmoil of their quarterback literally tapping out of a game because he was tired, not to mention he's the single least accurate quarterback in professional football. When Joe Flacco's in the lineup, there's a cohesiveness to the offense. There's Flacco's certainly more accurate. You get Josh Downs. You get Michael Pittman Jr. far more involved. Jonathan Taylor opens up the running game for him. And you got Shane Steichen. And this Steichen-Flores matchup is going to be, I think, a blast to watch. You've got one of the smartest offensive play callers, who happens to be the head coach of the Texans, and Shane Steichen. You've got one of the best, I think the second best defensive coordinator in football, Brian Flores, second only to Steve Spagnuolo, we know he's a great job he's done. The problem with Minnesota is this. They've had two rough defensive performances the last 2 weeks, giving up 30 points in those two games. 31 to Detroit, 30 to the Rams. Two of those came out of safety, but you get the point. Not to mention, Christian Darrisaw's done for the season. That's the anchor of their defense. That's a gigantic loss that not enough people have talked about. Indianapolis' defense is questionable at best. I get it. What I've seen lately, especially with losing Darrisaw, I think this could be a really rough spot for the Minnesota Vikings. So, again, second biggest upset I've got this week. It's not my upset of the week because I got the Jags stunning Philadelphia. Give me the Indianapolis Colts to go to Minnesota and eke out a win 24-23 over the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. By the way, I've said over and over, I'm waiting for the Sam Darnold turning back in a Sam Darnold game. I'm not even necessarily saying this is going to be it. I think this is just a spot where I don't love what I'm seeing from Minnesota's defense. So I think the Colts will get the job done with Joe Flacco, take advantage, and win this one 24-23. There you go. All right. That is, we got those. All right. That is all the time we have for today's show. Everybody should appreciate, if I can talk today, I appreciate everybody for stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time, right here on YouTube, as well as the Carving It Up YouTube channel and the Grid Network YouTube channel. Of course, be sure to like, share, comment, and please take 2 seconds out of your day. Hit that big red subscribe button down there. It helps the channel grow exponentially. Be sure to tell your friends about it, your family about it, everybody to know about Carving Up Live, except for your sleeping cat or your awake cat that is wordy and has a lot to say. Nealon can get in those moods sometimes, but please tell everybody you know about Carving Up Live, to subscribe to the show, to give the show a chance. We greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. Just as importantly, be sure to go subscribe to the Grid Network. That is GRYD, the Grid Podcast Network, right here on YouTube, as well as any and everywhere you get your podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any and everywhere that you get your favorite podcast. You can find us at the Grid Network, where we dare to be different. Catch my man Patrick Brown. He just wrote some recent articles for the Grid's website. Check those stuff out, as well as for other audio content creators. Check out their stuff anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube. Please go subscribe to the Grid Network, and please as well subscribe to my YouTube channel, Carving It Up Podcast. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. All right. We're in November. We're midseason in the NFL. College football is rolling in the final month of the regular season. Baseball came in with a bang. Talked about that to start the show. Had a blast, certainly, at the Yankees suspension. As a matter of fact, I might as well play us out of here. I figured it would be an appropriate way to end Carving Up Live. So again, let me get through the serious stuff first, because it's important. Please be sure to stay safe out there. Please be sure to take care of your physical as well as your mental health. And please, please, please Be sure to contact your local state representatives and senators to demand change for gun violence in America. Doesn't matter where you lean, right, left, center. This is an issue that affects every single one of us as Americans on a day-to-day basis. And no matter what anybody tries to tell you, oh, it's not a problem. Oh, there's only one solution to the problem. Both are BS. Both are not true. It's a huge problem that needs a number of detailed, nuanced solutions to solve it. And we've got an election in 4 days. I voted yesterday, early voted yesterday. Get out there and vote if you haven't already. Make your voice heard. That's the greatest right we have as American citizens, is to choose our own leaders. And keep in mind, if you haven't voted already, when you go to that ballot box, or not the ballot box, when you go to the polls to cast your vote, keep in mind the candidates and do your research ahead of time. If they don't show any sort of sense of urgency to address the problem of gun violence, vote against them, vote them out of office, because we have to address this as soon as possible to protect the people in this beautiful country. It's so, so important. All right. You know what? I'm excited. This is going to be a fun weekend of sports. It's going to be a crazy weekend in the country next week, but, hopefully you can watch some NFL football Sunday, college football on Saturday, get our minds off for a little bit, and then who knows what's going to happen next week. I have an idea, but maybe I'll share my thoughts for you on Monday. We'll see you then. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out. And before we get out of here, I did want to say this as well because it's quite important. Wait. Yankees lose! Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.